Tu me rends vraiment fou.
Welcome to E305 Live, G4 TV's behind the scenes, before the scenes, and straining our necks to see the scenes look at the video game expo called E3. I'm Morgan Webb, and contractually bound to follow me everywhere is my X-Play co-host, Adam Sessler.
Who is preparing himself for what's sure to be the biggest E3 ever, and for some reason speaking irritatingly in the third person. Rounding things out is none other than TV's Kevin Pereira, host of Attack of the Show.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam. Now, it's actually an honor to share the stage with someone who attended E366 when the expo was just a single room with a Pong machine.
Two Pong machines.
Oh, two. Great. Now, this year, we've got the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, some hints at the Nintendo Revolution, and so much booth swag that I've actually had to assign 2 interns to do my grubbing for me. I'm that powerful. Now, if that fails, I'll be stealing stuff from G4TV.com host Jeff Keighley and IGN editorial director Tal Blevins, who are here to share in the madness. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Now, we'll be coming to you live every day of E3 with 2-hour specials at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, once the show officially kicks off tomorrow. Tonight, we've got the breaking news from Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo's pre-E3 press conferences. First up is Sony, getting things started with a bang and a surprisingly cheesy PowerPoint presentation.
Good afternoon and welcome to the annual Sony Computer Entertainment E3 press conference. Please give a warm welcome to one of our company's founders, Ken Kutaragi.
We are so excited to reveal our third PlayStation home entertainment system. So this is PlayStation 3. Capacity is the key for delivering media. Blu-ray has 6 times bigger capacity than current DVD. In this sense, it will be a great chance to support Blu-ray disc for our next generation system. Within the last 10 years, over 13,000 titles were released for the PlayStation and PlayStation 2. We are happy to announce that PlayStation 3 will have backward compatibility to enjoy these assets. PS3 will have powerful interfaces, including 6 USB ports, 2 HDMI outputs. Wi-Fi is also a standard feature of PlayStation 3 for communicating with PSP and other devices. PS3 will support built-in Bluetooth for up to 7 wireless controllers.
If you are fortunate enough to have 2 HD monitors, then you can enjoy a panoramic view which creates a horizontally seamless image of 32 by 9 aspect ratio. Likewise, you can video chat with your friends at the same time as a playing game. In addition to USB standard interface for various controllers, there is also a built-in wireless network interface that allows connection to Wi-Fi devices, including PlayStation Portable. The network is a core element of the PlayStation 3 DNA. Video calls can be made and received, music and streaming media browsed, new content for games purchased and downloaded. Naturally, multiplayer online game feature will be also offered. By taking advantage of the network, the entertainment world of PlayStation continues to grow.
We've just seen the first of the next-gen consoles. Jeff, what do you think?
Well, you know, Sony had the element of surprise coming to the show because, you know, Microsoft had this special that they did, you know, all this news about Xbox 360, and now
Sony
PS3.
has been good at keeping those
and,
secrets.
you know, total surprise. So they showed up, you know, Ken Kutaragi showed the PlayStation 3 industrial design. We didn't expect that. And I thought, I mean, that the stuff they show that we're going to look at, I mean, graphically is amazing.
Yeah,
so
not only a surprise, but a good surprise.
Right.
I think Sony was the one that really came out and showed us what next generation can be.
I think also if you just look at the sheer numbers, usually my eyes glaze over, but there were a couple things that really stood out. The most impressive is the big complaint about Sony's PS2 was that the graphics processor had a hard time speaking to the actual CPU unit.
Right.
And now they have this 32 gig pipeline. It's like they've almost overcompensated in a comical way for what was the biggest sticking point of the PS2.
Right.
And the graphics processor is really amazing. It's the equivalent of like 2 high-powered GeForce graphics cards that you'd find in your PC. And you can really see that in the output of the games that they showed.
Well, I think what we're seeing with what Sony showed off is maybe not what is going to be what we're going to be using everything for today, but there's a lot of potential for the future there as well.
Can I say one of the things that really interested me about that, and I thought they could have beat the audience over the head over and over again, was the ability to share media from your PS3 on your PSP wirelessly
And play those games.
anywhere you
Right.
go.
On your PSP.
Play the
And the
games,
video.
view the photos,
Yeah.
view the videos. I mean, that has got to put it like.
And
a
let's not forget
serious
about
test
Blu-ray,
Microsoft
which is,
strategy.
this will
Right.
probably be one of the first high-definition DVD players
Yes.
on the U.S. market.
And I mean,
It'll
that's
be
like,
in PS3.
if that's really a gamble, because we don't know if people are going to really adopt Blu-ray as opposed to something else, but it's going to, give them a little bit of a jump on the install
But
base.
I think the big problem is how much is this going to cost? I mean,
Right.
that's a lot of tech inside there. If it's the equivalent of 2 of these NVIDIA cards, which are already retailing what,
Over
around
$500
around
for each one.
$500.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, obviously, it's not going to sell for $1,000, but I would be surprised if they can sell it for anything less
And
than
don't,
$500.
and don't forget about the cell chip, which is,
Right.
what Sony's
Right.
done with Toshiba and with IBM. This, huge new sort of architecture. For,
Right.
it's a supercomputer that's inside of
and
this.
we're
I mean,
going to
it's
see
just-
that showing up in a lot of new places, I hope.
We hope, yeah.
Well, they'll put the cell to good use. They'll get their money back on it. NVIDIA will use the same graphics technology on their PC side of things, so they'll get their money back there. So I think Sony's willing to take a loss on the console just to establish Blu-ray in the homes because
I don't know.
they have a vested interest in making sure
We
Blu-ray
might be a
takes
little
over.
too hopeful on that. About how much they're going to sell the console for. I feel like maybe we're being a little hopeful. Like maybe
the
we're
games are
hoping
good.
It's going to be cheaper.
games
We're
are
like,
good.
Games are
I
good.
hope
People
I
will
only
pay
have
the
to
money.
spend $400.
I
don't know. I
for
mean,
me.
Sony still obviously wants to be dominant in the
Right.
in the marketplace, and PlayStation almost stands for video game at this point. So
And they're going to have to pay for that. So now, when the little hand is on... Who am I kidding? You're wearing a calculator watch. Coming up, we've got even more news straight from Sony's mouth when E305 Live continues.
Welcome back to E305 Live, brought to you by Jeep. We're here on E3E, bringing you the top stories from the big 3 press conferences: Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. Okay, so the PS3 looks like a fax machine, but it sounds like it's going to make up for its lack of beauty with some serious brawn under the hood.
Over the next few minutes, I'd like to take you on an illustrated journey. Back to March 1999, we showed a demo of a duck. Now on PlayStation 3 and see how he lives today. So here's my duck, stunningly rendered in real time. This is me driving it around. I do think our duck might be a little lonely, so let's introduce a couple of friends to him. And you can see here these little battleships or galleons. The cloth dynamic is being damaged by the cannonballs in real time, and everything is working in real physics. But he's still a little bit lonely. I think he still needs more friends. So let's stick in a couple more here. But I don't think that's enough ducks. I don't think you can ever have enough ducks. And for the technically minded amongst you, this demo uses LOD, which is lots of ducks. Now, this is a perfect demonstration, not just of graphics, but actually of what Cell brings to computer entertainment. Because in the PlayStation 3 generation, it's not just about how objects look, it's about how they behave. In this demonstration, we have a real-time vortex controlling all of the hundreds of thousands of leaves that you can see in real time. Plus, we've got 5.1 surround sound being created in real time. In fact, the Cell has so much power that every one of the leaves could have its own audio channel if you wanted to hear them rustle. It's appropriate that since we're here at the home of Sony Pictures, home of movie magic and special effects, that we show the PlayStation 3's ability to blow stuff up. Blow it up. Now, what this demonstration actually uses is only the Cell processor to render volumetrically all of the performance required to simulate an explosion, thermal dynamics, heat, gas, smoke, fire. This is not an animation. This is not something that an artist created. This is all purely physics-based. Here in slow motion, you can see that the heat haze and gases emitted by the simulation accurately represented on screen. And it's not just about graphics. we can see in this demo tremendous amount of detail in the 3D objects, which are beautifully rendered with amazing lighting and amazing detail. But the real purpose of this demo is to show how a city in a future video game would come to life. And I think this demo is a great example of what a next-generation PlayStation 3 game is actually going to deliver in terms of immersion and richness and detail to the scene.
So you could imagine how excited we were when Ken invited us to partner with him to build the PlayStation 3 GPU. What the PlayStation 3 is about is creating beautiful worlds that come alive. Her bodysuit is now coming to life, reflecting, refracting, and absorbing light in different ways. These lovable creatures are also rendered with shaders. Notice the plasma so bright in the back that it actually penetrates the membranes of their skin. This is a simple technology demonstration of what is the possibility of the PlayStation 3. "32 bits can only articulate 250 tones of light, and yet our eyes, and certainly my eyes right now, I can see 50,000 to 1 contrast. So in the brightest of lights and the darkest of shadows, our eyes still have the ability to see deep and subtle details. We're going to show you the first demonstration, real-time demonstration of a next-generation game console and a next-generation game. Tim, there is just absolutely no way that's real time. You're going to have to prove it to the audience. Wow.
So here we see a floating point render target with very high dynamic range lighting everywhere. Per pixel lighting and shadowing and all of the effects that you've seen in previous generation movies are now being done in real-time games now today with this generation.
Now tell us, Tim, how long has it taken you guys to develop this game on top of the PS3 dev kit?
Well, amazingly, we got the first PlayStation 3 hardware only 2 months ago.
You know, what you're seeing today is really just the tip of the iceberg of what's going to be possible in this truly revolutionary game console, PlayStation 3.
Wow, I mean, Sony really did lay down the gauntlet. Tal, I mean, what do you think of this?
Rubber Ducky, you're the one. You know what I'm saying? I think Sony really showed off using their tech demos what you can really do in just 10, 20 seconds and pick up, oh, wow, this is going to do some neat little stuff.
And the Unreal demo was quite spectacular. And the fact that they could move around within the demo, I think, because everybody, the first thing everyone's like, oh, it's CG, it's pre-rendered, you know.
And talking to the guys at Epic, I mean, it sounds like that, you know, they did that really quickly, and it's like, you know, and the CPU, they were saying they hardly even used the cell processor for it. It was mostly done in the core and on the graphics chip. They said the graphics chip actually was limited probably to about 40 to 50% of its power, so there's still more that they can do with it. And this is just a hint of what's to come, and that's what's exciting, is to think that's only going to get better.
The only thing is that Sony in the past, as everyone mentioned with the demos that they showed at the PS2 that were similar to this, they seem to open up possibilities that never fully got realized.
Remember the Emotion Engine for PS2 with the old man's face.
Right.
And think about it, too, and developers as well. I mean, think about developers on PlayStation 2 now. They're using the power, and they know how to program for the PlayStation 2 now much better than they did early on.
And they just came out with, like, God of War, which is beautiful. And there was like, I didn't know my PlayStation 2 could do this. And, you know, I'm sure we'll see that same kind of thing at the end of the PlayStation 3's life cycle.
I think the one that I really liked, though, was the one of Piccadilly Circus in London. Just the naturalness of the characters in the background. It's those little touches that usually trick your eye into realizing what you're seeing is simulated and not real. And that one, you really are sort of testing yourself.
So it has that sense of space that is so lacking from other games. You realize that it's supposed to be space and a representation of space, but you miss that feeling that you're actually in London.
Let's remember, though, most of these were tech demos, and that it's not actually a game yet. We'll see.
Right. There's far more feelings coming up. And for in-depth rundowns on the specs for the PS3, check out our partner, IGN.com. That's Tal's place. They have round-the-clock E3 coverage, and we've got plenty more Sony bulletins coming up. Plus, more Xbox 360 hype from Microsoft, and the first words from the unusually quiet Nintendo front. That's on the way, so resign yourself to not getting up anytime soon.
All right, this is E3 05 Live, and I'm Kevin Pereira, and we are whipping your E3 fervor into a frenzy with reports directly from the pre-show press conferences. Now, it's all the fun of being a member of the press corps without the cool fedora and the drinking problem.
Speak for yourself.
Sessler, actually. Still to come, Nintendo opens their cute cartoon mouth to announce their E3 plans, and Jay Allard touts the Xbox 360 while wearing something very, very hip. But first, Sony continues to stoke the flames of their rivalry with Microsoft. We're talking giant robots, cowboys, and women who actually listen when you talk to them. Here are some big titles coming up for the PS3.
PlayStation 3 is a powerful machine under the hood. But what about the games?
Let me give you an example of a technical demonstration our dedicated team has put together.
There you are.
Okay.
You're ready?
Yes, let's go.
Where is he? Time is running out. Hurry.
Let's switch to our plan.
Roger. We'll go in, but keep an eye on us, okay?
So I've been working on Fight Night since the beginning of the franchise, and I just can't tell you like how exciting it is as a developer to finally have the technology in our hands to build the Fight Night game that we've been looking to build all these years.
Prize fighters giving left jabs, left hooks, overhand rights, followed by uppercut, turning out your lights.
What we're looking forward to on the PlayStation 3 is being able to take advantage of the cell's raw horsepower to create more sophisticated physics, to control hundreds of characters on screen, each of which is controlled by its own AI system. I think the cell signals the convergence of mainstream entertainment and games that everyone has been talking about for the last 10 years.
I think what we're most looking forward to creating in a PlayStation 3 game is a truly realized, truly immersive living, breathing world. We really know that we're going to be able to go to the next level in terms of realistic simulations and realistic immersions combined with incredible narrative, incredible storytelling, and those two components combined are what are going to create the experiences of the future.
Sorry, did you guys, I don't know if you heard that plopping noise? That was actually the sound of a million Sony fanboys simultaneously soiling themselves. Jeff,
That's right.
tell me, a little pre-rendered for my taste.
Well, but the great thing is
but does it look good?
Yeah, because people are now debating whether this stuff is CG or or actual gameplay because it looks so good. And I think what's great about these, no matter what they are, is they capture your imagination about where gameplay should go next.
Couldn't Microsoft, hire an ILM or a Pixar and capture the imagination of what they'd like it to do too?
But Sony did show some real-time stuff. So that Fight Night demo, I mean, that was real-time running on the hardware. So
I think it's as was the game from Insomniac.
As the game from Insomniac and the Unreal. I mean, those. Right. So there is that potential for them to
people know
it
could get that good. And I talked to Ubisoft yesterday, and that Killing Day game, they said that is CG,
which broke my heart.
But it's an attempt to sort of recognize what it's probably going to look like on
and
PS3.
It's early. That console isn't coming out for like another year. I mean, like they gotta get some time to work on these games and make them happen.
And I think we all know that what we saw today is some gameplay stuff, some CG stuff. I think all of it was pretty impressive for a debut.
Well, and more importantly, once again, Sony's committing itself to what has been its strength this round, which is having so many unique and varied titles available on the console. I mean, it's really always been their strength. And a lot of these, like, I'm not a huge fan of the driving genre, but the off-road racing game.
It looks
really,
very visceral.
The windshield wiper and the mud.
Yeah.
And the thing is that even the developers, I think, they look at these demos and that inspires them to think about how they're going to take games to the next level. Because a lot of other tech demos using for other consoles, they don't say, this is where games are going.
What we haven't seen is at least I haven't seen a 360 demo yet where it's just one character like a Doc Ock, highly polygonal, super modeled out. I haven't seen Microsoft showing off any demos like that, and I wonder, is that because they're not capable of getting that high def, or is it just because?
Well, on Xbox One, they did, the butterfly demo, all these other things. I haven't seen the tech demos. We'll talk about that later, but I think Sony was great because all the demos they showed, I think developers went home that night and started thinking, what can I do for PS3?
Exactly. I think it helps you realize, instead of trying to wrap your head around an entire game concept you see in 10, 20 seconds, you get what's going on, and you understand how it can be fun.
Is that once the games come out, on the first round, will they be so far below what we saw today that people can feel like they're bamboozled?
And that's why I have a little bit of confidence in Sony that they're not going to do that. They're not going to make the quality of their games so much lower
but
than
they did with the PlayStation 2, though. Don't forget that. They did with the PlayStation 2. Everything was really jaggy. The Dreamcast had better-looking games when the PlayStation launched.
But remember, there were real-time demos there. It was just CG, but remember, there were real-time things there.
And they looked pretty damn good.
They did. All right, now, if you left now, you'd miss the final Sony press conference report. And honestly, would you ever be able to look yourself in the mirror again? I mean, how would you shave? Tragic. Think about that while we help sell you things.
No pass to the Sony press conference is harder to get than a near-mint Star Wars yak face action figure. But trust me, the press pass is much more attractive than an overpriced plastic man with a giant llama head. The good news is we have the next best thing to a Sony press pass, a first look at the most impressive game we saw in Sony's PS3 lineup, Killzone. As you watch this, try to figure out if this is pre-rendered or real-time gameplay.
Okay, listen up. Aim straight. Keep your fire low. You're too close. Move away. You're going to be in a line of fire. Parker, 8 o'clock left. 10 seconds to touchdown. Okay, listen up. Fernandez, Boyle, hold on tight. Touchdown.
Killzone 3 just earned the nickname Halo Killer. Tal, is that real-time gameplay?
I would love to believe it is.
It's not.
I don't know, dude.
I would still have to get my hands on it, you know? I mean, seeing that, I sure as hope that's what we're going to be playing on the PS3.
Wait, do we know? Do we know? Because last night on the forums,
confusing,
everybody, I mean, there were page after page after page. Any
Sony
forum you
was
went
saying
to,
it was real time.
Sony's official line, they say real-time, in-game. That's actually what you're going to be saying.
But on the forums, people are saying, you know, is this a Scottish CGI house who did, you know, the
What does it have to be regional to where it was being developed? I find this funny. It's Scottish. It's that way.
The textures were clearly Scottish.
No matter what it is, it's like I think you know, Killzone was a franchise that on PS2 people were not particularly impressed with the game. It was okay, but it's like now you see this and people are saying, you know, Halo Killer. I mean, imagine this was a launch title, and I don't. Maybe it won't come for launch, but I just think it looks so fantastic. It's a great imagination of where first-person shooters are going to eventually go. Wouldn't you give it that, Cal?
I would absolutely. In fact, I would give it that if it is real time and it's using in-game assets and that is legit, then that is the death blow to the 360 before it's even out. However, I still maintain there is no way that is not pre-rendered. That has got to be pre-rendered.
Let us also remember, too, games aren't just about graphics. I mean, we're actually going to have to get our hands on it and see how this thing plays before we definitively say it's a Halo killer.
Well, which is a very, very good point, because when we also saw the controller, it's that it has that odd boomerang shape.
Right.
One of the biggest problems that we've had with first-person shooters on the PS2 is the fact that, unlike the Xbox controller, they're on the same axis, which makes it very hard. It's like, you know, patting your head and rubbing your tummy at the same time. And so I was watching it, I'm like, hold on, will I have still that kind of control?
That control looked identical, except it had the wings.
We're not going to know that until we get our hands on it. I thought the boomerang controller looked kind of nice, and you could kind of have it on the side.
I figured it was just good to turn on your PS2 or PS3 and get it back again. But notice how you capture the buzz. It's like by showing something like that. I mean, Microsoft could have done it, Nintendo could have done it. They could have shown some really great CG stuff. And I think
but
what's great is
they didn't have that great CG stuff.
And the great thing is the CG stuff now, it's like we're even debating it now because the real-time demos look so good. So now, you know, experts like us don't even necessarily really know if that's real.
I can buy it.
Actually, I know that was pre-rendered.
Okay.
I know it. In my heart of hearts, deep down, Adam, I will punch you in the mouth. It is pre-rendered.
I'm holding on a 5% chance, or that there were at least assets in that.
Perhaps.
In-game assets, that this really is a legitimate hope.
I'm holding out a chance that a lot of it is going to be, you know, was rendered in real time, and maybe there were some CG assets, maybe there was a little enhancement in the flames or the faces,
a little cheating here and
facial
there.
expressions, a little cheating. But maybe they're just cheating to make it look like they hope it's going to be.
Eventually.
Eventually, one day, like 10 years.
I think we can all agree on and that we didn't think that maybe the next generation was a little too early for us, but if games really are going to look like this, that's the quantum leap. Then maybe that's the quantum leap.
That is true. No one is going to say PlayStation 2.5 if Killzone is real time.
And that's what Sony wanted to accomplish.
And they did it.
It's gorgeous, even pre-rendered, though, to think that, you know, it's
I'd love to see that CGI film.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's like an entire movie.
Yeah, I'm all for that, yeah.
Do you think, I mean, I guess the other question is, what's interesting, going back to the fact that it was Killzone, something I think all four of us can sit here and say was kind of gaming last year.
They were busy working on this.
I mean, I think Sony's now going to, like, see what our reaction is, just go back through their other catalog of games that also were, you know, like The Getaway. You know, I mean, who adjusts the quality of these graphics suddenly with all these kind of flagging franchises and bring them to a higher level?
And don't forget,
if you think we're finished.
All right.
We're not. But you don't know Microsoft very well. Their subtle efforts to dominate this year's E3 have not gone unnoticed. And we'll have more after this.
This debate isn't over yet.
Not over. It's over forever.
Super. Tu m'en vraiment fous.
All right, E3 05 Live is back. But remember, don't dive into any of this press conference coverage without first consulting a physician. Now that we've been suitably impressed by the PS Tray, as we're going to start calling it, and we know you too, you're going to do it as well. Will Microsoft regret blowing their wad on MTV, or do they still have some surprises inside the 360? Enough with the questions. Let's see.
And it's on.
Tonight we stand at a watershed moment in the history of entertainment. We are here to celebrate the launch of the world's most powerful game platform, Xbox 360. Now, we've traveled a long way since we stood on stage 4 years ago at E3 to tell you about our plans for a new console called Xbox. Since then, we've gone from 0 customers to more than 20 million. Right now, 6 of the top 10 selling games are Xbox titles. And gamers can expect more than 200 new Xbox titles this year, with hundreds more in 2006 and beyond. So let's take a look at some of the new titles coming to Xbox in 2005.
Everything is go.
We dropped this back in Black Mesa. Good luck out there, buddy. Gonna need it.
Now, many gamers have been asking us if they'll be able to play their favorite Xbox games on Xbox 360. Tonight, we are very pleased to announce that Xbox 360 will be backwards compatible with the top-selling Xbox games.
All right, so Microsoft learned from Sony that backwards compatibility is a very good idea, especially when you're still releasing a ton of Xbox One titles. But Jeff, is it all about the new games, or is it even important?
Well, wait a second. We got to talk about that backwards compatibility because I think people misinterpret that. Because
there was an asterisk, a giant asterisk.
Exactly. It's like with top-selling games. Now, top-selling games, that could mean Halo and Halo 2, and that's it. So that's not backwards compatibility to me. And, Microsoft's not clarifying.
That means I'm not going to be able to play my Death Row. That means I'm not going to be able to
What
play
about
Freedom
Blinks 2,
Fighters?
Tal? When you want to put Blinks 2 in the drive.
Everybody neglects Fusion Frenzy.
Looking at some of the games that Microsoft had out, like, I'm not super excited about any of those titles except for Gears of War, so maybe I'm going to want to go back and play Halo 2.
And Microsoft's not clarifying.
Honestly.
No, and it's like they can't do backwards compatibility hardware-wise, so they have to do it software-wise. So I think they're going to pick, maybe it'll be the top 5, maybe the top 10 games.
Right. Do you think it has maybe a relationship to XNA or the relationship to the hard drive? These features that are being imported.
They have
into
to
the
graphics
emulation.
Right.
It's the graphics card. It's like the
the
last one had
NVIDIA graphics card.
NVIDIA.
They basically can't do that, and they pay, unless they pay a royalty
And I
to
think
NVIDIA.
we'll see downloadable patches for popular
I'm sure we'll see
Xbox.
downloadable patches.
The thing is that, I think the current gen Xbox games like Half-Life 2, it's interesting Microsoft showed all this current Xbox stuff. Sony didn't show any PS2 stuff really besides Final Fantasy 12 at their press conference. Microsoft had to show all this Xbox stuff because everyone was saying they're abandoning their platform. I think the stuff looks good, but if anything, they're enticing Xbox owners to just keep playing Xbox One this holiday season and not upgrade.
I agree completely. I think the other thing is that as we're going to sort of be discussing in a moment, the Xbox seems to be reaching the height of its capabilities right now. Was this the right time to be moving on?
Don't forget,
we're still being surprised, though, by the PlayStation. I wonder if the Xbox has really hit the top of its capabilities.
Well, that's the thing. God of War didn't happen until what?
Time for it to move on.
God of War happened 6 years into cycle. Like, who knows what Halo 3 would look like on the Xbox One? They probably could churn out.
I definitely think the original Xbox has legs left. I mean, I don't think anybody has a doubt about that. They've certainly proved that they're best with online service and multiplayer gaming, and there's still a lot of territory to explore there, even with the first Xbox.
Well, we got about 4 months left to find out.
Well, the real challenge too is that I think some of these games, everyone's showing these games in high definition for the next generation systems.
And
most
they're
people
gorgeous.
don't have. They're gorgeous, but most people only have standard def TVs.
Right, and we're even losing, like, for people at home, like, we're losing some of the, the beauty.
We got TVs on these big, huge, 40-foot screens. It looks great, but these games still look good.
Are the systems, technologically, are they outstripping what people actually have in their homes right now to play games on?
I think that while also, obviously, this is a much wider debate, is talking about HD can start to alienate people from wanting to put down the extra cash for the new console.
Well, I think it might even, they're getting cheaper, it might drive some people to pick up the console, because right now you can watch HD TV, a few stations, you can watch, like, PBS, like a sports station. You might start getting a reason to put down the money.
I agree. I think video games are going to drive HD TV, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, Microsoft's motto this year is speak softly and carry a big next-gen console. Except by softly, they mean frequently. We've got more from the House of Gates when we come back.
Welcome back to E305 Live, the show that saved a front row press conference seat just for you.
Aww.
If you're just joining us, we've been talking about Microsoft, but more importantly, Microsoft has been talking about Microsoft.
Today, we're poised to make the leap again, this time from 3D to the HD era. In the HD era, we're going to reach 1 billion people with our medium. The essence of our vision is reflected in the name, Xbox 360. It's the product that delivers experiences where the player is always at center stage. You hit the Xbox Guide button, and you launch the user interface for the HD era. Here's my gamer card. Think of your gamer card kind of like your online trading card. It includes your reputation, your gamer score, the zone you like to play in, and your motto. With Xbox 360, Live is going to offer something for everybody. We're going to make it easier and more accessible than ever before to join the community. Because on Xbox 360, Xbox Live will offer a free level of service directly out of the box. Let's talk about Velocity Girl. She might pick up a controller every once in a while over at a friend's house, but really, gaming's not a central part of her existence. The marketplace is going to be a way to get Velocity Girl re-engaged with our market and re-engaged with games. Because on the marketplace, she's going to be an active member of the community of people that play games like Tony Hawk. Now, she might never pick up a controller, never take a run in the half pipe, but she'll be able to design and sell stickers, shirts, boards, soundtracks, and even design her own skate parks for those hardcore gamers like Stryker. Velocity Girl is going to love Xbox 360. Xbox 360 is going to connect to a world of digital entertainment devices, including hundreds of mobile music players and digital cameras. Not just from our partners, but also from some of our competitors.
Sorry, just hanging out.
Just relaxing.
Right there.
Just chilling, you know.
Talking to the crowd.
Yeah.
We just need a staged audience behind us.
Exactly.
All right, yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Get
But,
there.
first, thank God, Velocity Girl is designing skate ramps. Tal, are you excited? I don't even know if there's an audience for what they're talking about out there.
Well, I like girls. That's
Do you
one
like
thing.
Velocity Girls?
I just feel like maybe they're not focusing on the gaming so much as they're focusing on the marketing side of what you can actually do with it.
But I mean, I am a little bit outside that group that they were talking about. I was feeling increasingly alienated the more they talked. So I'm like, this isn't interesting. But then I started to question, does it sound more pandering and patronizing than actually useful and appealing to that age demographic?
You've got to have a foundation of great games. You can augment it with some of the stuff, but when you're talking about that, it's like 20 minutes of your press conference is all about these services and all this stuff.
And that's because they know they're not going to win on the hardware side, so they're trying to win on the marketing side, and they're trying to, I hope that they don't alienate their hardcore gamer while they're trying to get the wives and the girlfriends.
A billion gamers.
They need to focus on the hardcore gamers and then try and pick up some of like the sisters and the girlfriends and the moms, and that's what seems to be what they're going for.
It's a great service if they offer compelling downloadable content, as part of this, as well as just
trailer is not going to be that compelling.
Exactly, or just an S for my shirt or something. Not that
a micro payment for a Mark Echo shirt, again, not compelling. And I don't think Velocity Girl has the knowledge to build a skate park that I care to pay for. If she's never even picked up a controller, I'd be neglecting that as well.
It's a very odd thing because what they describe was kind of this off in the future, like some utopia,
like the
but they showed
world.
nothing practical that would make me go, oh, I get it. And the more they talked, and of course their press conferences tend to be very scripted, very rehearsed, and the more they talked and said things that didn't make any sense to me, the more bizarre the entire thing became, like that audience that we need to discuss right now.
They're not the audience that they were going for. Like the hardcore gamer, the person
But aren't
who's really
hardcore people the early adopters for systems? That's why I just
that's the thing. They were talking about the 3 different types of people. 2 of those types were more hardcore. There was the hardcore gamer, the stinger or stringer or striker, whatever. And then there was the geek guy who was into gadgets. Neither of them had any compelling reason to go out and grab the 360 after that press conference.
Maybe they think they already have that audience with their old Xbox, and now they have to get the new one.
I think the original Xbox, actually, they've told me they think it's too hardcore, and they need to broaden the base, because that's how they think they're going to beat Sony.
Too hardcore. What does that mean?
They flaunted their Halo 2 as a groundbreaking and record-breaking. That was on the original Xbox.
They want this to be about more than Halo, but I just think is Velocity Girl going to spend,
$300-400 on a system. That's
I think the cart is well in front of the horse on all of it. They need to get them in with the game.
And you got to pay for your online play. Let's talk about that. I mean, Xbox Live Gold.
It's a level of service.
But you know what?
You get for free.
If you want to play anything, though, you got to pay.
Don't even think of letting that ass indent in your couch fill back in, because we'll be back shortly with a look at the titles that will be launching, or at least coming out sometime after the launch of the Xbox 360. Come back or receive a sternly worded letter from me and Pereira.
You're watching E305 Live, brought to you by Jeep.
It's E305 Live, and this is your ticket to red hot press conference action.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, we're here at E3, the Electronic Entertainment Expo, and we'll be bringing you live E3 coverage all week long at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. So now, for those of you who don't know, this is the biggest event in the video game industry, and every year it kicks off with massive press conferences held by the big three, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. And if Microsoft feels they're on shaky ground after throwing their Xbox 360 cards on the table last week, they aren't showing it. Here are some of the games Microsoft hopes you'll be aching to slip into your 360.
Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon 3 drops you in urban warfare at its most intense and chaotic. You are a soldier of the future.
The president is safe. Entrances and exits are locked down. Major, Lieutenant Bullen is down. The president, he's dead too. Dead, sir. Negative. The VIP is down, but needs help. Repeat, we have the VIP down and need a medic now.
How about a brand new, full-featured, next-generation role-playing game in the launch window? It promises to feature one of the largest open-ended worlds ever created for a video game. Welcome to the world of Oblivion.
Find him and close shut the jaws of Oblivion.
Gears of War is a third-person tactical shooter with survival horror themes that will literally make you afraid to pick up the controller. Let's roll the video.
The humans of Thera built a glorious civilization. But humans were not destined to create. They ultimately did what they do best. Destroy.
Very nice. Now, Jeff, be honest. Did you see any console movers like Halo in there?
I don't know, that Gears of War from Epic Games and our friend Cliffy B, who's going to be on the live show, I know, it looks fantastic.
Do you think Velocity Girl's going to really love Gears of War?
Well,
It's an interesting contradiction right there. But yeah.
No, I think, that looks good. All three of those games, I think, look fantastic.
Right.
And they're the kind of games, look great. I mean, they don't, to me, Gears of War looks great. Something like, Killzone obviously looks like a step beyond that. But Gears of War is going to be playable here. I mean, people will actually be able to put their hands on it, running on a PC. But it's going to be impressive, I think.
And in these demos, I think I'm more apt to believe that these were real-time, in-game renderers being used instead of any like CGI tricks. Maybe a couple here and there. But
even though the Xbox hardware is so much less impressive than the PS3 hardware.
Well, if you look at like, you know, Ghost Recon 3, while it did look impressive, the environments themselves, like some of the textures were kind of bland. There wasn't really complex geometry going on. And I'm not slighting the game at all, because it does look beautiful, and I am excited to play it. But I don't think it's so far off what the hardware could do, whereas I do think like a Killzone, again, got to be pre-rendered.
Are we seeing an example here of Sony throwing up some brilliant smoke and mirrors, and are Microsoft lagging behind?
Well, but Microsoft should know this was coming.
That's a $65,000 question right there.
Well, what's the answer?
I had said that Elder Scrolls 4 was the one I was most excited to see coming in. I'm still very excited, though, between that and Ghost Recon. And there's quite a few other Microsoft games. The bloom effect, that kind of like almost soft-focused, nostalgic golden sheen is getting way overused. And I'm beginning to wonder, is that also used to kind of disguise a few things that are in the background?
Vaseline on the lens.
I mean, Ghost Recon.
That's how my eyes work now,
Gritty
actually.
futuristic urban warfare game. It felt like it was nostalgic for gritty futuristic urban warfare.
It was a little more brightly lit, exactly, than we're used to for that kind of game. I mean, I'm hoping for a bigger console leap. I'm less jaded than you guys, maybe. But if you're thinking, I bet when they get back from commercial, they'll talk about Nintendo, you'd be right, but off by about 10 minutes. More Microsoft oohs and ahs when the Magic Box conjures us up again.
No, I'm too jaded.
Jaded, really? So you're not totally in the dark. Here's the grand finale from Gates & Company as they roll out even more games for their Xbox 360.
Now, at its core, Xbox 360 is a great game console. And Itagaki-san and Tecmo have always been at the forefront of delivering what a platform can deliver and what great games can achieve. Ladies and gentlemen, Dead or Alive 4, exclusively on Xbox 360.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. This next title from Rare represents an important leap forward in game development and really, really, really fun gameplay.
Cameo is back again, Tao. What the hell?
What? You know, third system's the charm, I guess. Finally, it's going to
I
come
don't know
out.
if it's the charm, actually.
Fourth system.
My question about that game is like, well, but my question is like, what is new about the game that you couldn't do on Xbox? And what Microsoft tells me is that one sequence where you have all those enemies on screen. Like, you can never play, and that's a new lens flare for this year. Is like how many enemies, how many ducks can you put on screen?
HDR is the new lens flare for this year.
High dynamic range.
I didn't see any reason in there for me to go and spend another $300 or $400 to go buy myself a new Xbox. Like I feel like I got an Xbox. It can do that. I'm cool.
I feel like it's going to be good hardware. I thought what we saw with DOA 4, it's not that big of a leap over DOA 3. But I don't know if it's just a case, again, like I said before, of Microsoft being more realistic than Sony is. Is Sony kind of blowing it up?
Also, they just made horrible strategic mistakes in that press conference. They put Dead or Alive pretty front and center, and that was the least impressive in terms of advancement over all the other games.
Where was Gears of War?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Gears of War should have been front and center. The only one which I found just outrageous was Project Gotham Racing 2. This one has been talked up so much. Oh, excuse me, 3. This one has been so talked up by them, and we all believed it to be one of the most impressive titles. And I do not believe for a second that was gameplay that I was looking at. That was, I mean, it's now becoming conspicuous by its absence, as with Perfect Dark Zero.
The big issue that Microsoft will not, tell everyone, they'll probably finally admit, is that, a lot of these games are running on alpha kits, which is, stuff that is not necessarily representative of the final hardware. So they're here at E3 trying to show games. That's why, some of these games are running at low frame rates. And
to be fair, I mean, that's what all of the companies do. I mean, that's what you have to do when you're developing these games.
Now, if we take a step back, and Tal, I'm going to pose this to you, I'm curious, because if we take a step back and look at Microsoft's overall vision of what they want to do with bridging not just the hardcore, but, the softcore gamer and the moms with the video chat and the Xbox arcade, are you buying their vision of the future?
Well, to be honest, I'm not a person who's really into one of those all-encompassing machines. I think if I want to buy a gaming machine, I want to buy a gaming machine. I want something that's dedicated to that task. I don't want a toaster. I don't want something that can make pasta as well as play my video game on.
How are you going to have Cafe Press online if you don't have an Xbox 360?
I want your store to open more. Make some
yeah, I'm gonna make some T-shirts and skate parks in my spare time.
But that is a big deal. People with like The Sims and other games. If you look at Second Life, people are all into making their own content. Maybe that will be a large draw. It won't. Either of us could care less, but maybe that will be a huge draw.
But you've got to get the hardcore first, and that's the most important.
Well, again, also they've got to clarify their message. Their message seems to be all over the place, and no one knows if they're supposed to be talking to them or not.
It's like wearing a sweat hoodie
really
and a sport coat.
And a sport coat at the same time.
It's a little confused.
I'm not so negative on the marketplace stuff, because I think it really does put tools in the user's hands to be able to do stuff that maybe like you have on the PC with the mod communities, to really have some cool content. Right now, we're just kind of thinking like, oh, here's going to be stripes on your shoes, here's going to be a new T-shirt. Look at The Sims on the PC. I mean, girls certainly love to make things for The Sims on the PC. So will
Why
that
are you
transfer?
looking at me when you're saying that? I don't play The Sims.
But they didn't pay $300+ to play Sims on the PC. That's the problem. It's that there's first is that threshold of how much the console costs.
Well, they're hoping to get it in there when like someone's going to pay $300 to play Halo 5, and then they're going to get their girlfriend hooked. It's going to be great.
I think the big point here, too, though, as Jeff pointed out, is we're going to be able to play Xbox 360 at this show. We're not going to be able to play PS3, or at least in a very limited if we are.
And one thing that no one's really mentioned, which it's a big deal to me, Jeff Minter doing the visuals.
Right.
Come on now. Love the
one game that's missing, though, last night was Perfect Dark Zero. Joanna. It's supposed to be a launch title. We didn't see it last night. Apparently, maybe in a back room here.
I wasn't missing it.
This is the Achilles heel of Microsoft right now. That game was supposed to be the big one.
Oh, no, and what about Halo 2.5? Lots of buzz about what that was going to be. We didn't hear any Halo news last night.
I think that was hoping. I don't know if it was necessarily rumor, but we were hoping.
Big Billy G said they're going to release Halo 3 up against the launch of the PS3. But that might be too late, unfortunately. And it hurts. It pains me to say that against Halo. I mean, I love my Halo.
And I think it's also worth saying that none of us here actually wanted Microsoft to stagger as it seems to be doing right now. That I had great hopes for the 360. And I left the press conference almost a little sad. I wanted to see them make a great case for it, and I left confused.
Right. And I was a little embarrassed.
I still play my Xbox, every single day. I still think it's one of the favorite, my favorite console. It's definitely got. If I'm doing a comparison between the three consoles, I'm going to play a game that's on the Xbox.
All right, well, we'll see if you're actually going to end up playing a 360 or not in the future.
True.
All right, were you planning on going somewhere? Because a quaint Japanese company called Nintendo would like to sell you a Revolution. When we come back, let's just hope it's not purple and shaped like a lunchbox.
All right, welcome back to E305 Live, the show that brings you the sheer exhilaration of press conferences. Whoopee! But it's without the discomfort of sitting in a rickety folding chair for 2 hours. The next time you unveil your multi-million-dollar next-gen consoles, pony up for cushions, people. No one wants to play the PS3 while sitting on an inflatable donut, except for people with a few problems. So far, we've seen the Xbox 360 from Microsoft and the PS3 from Sony. But what about Nintendo? Are they opting out of the next console cycle? Oh, sweet Christmas, no. Nintendo has a little something called the Revolution. And if you thought it was going to be a VR helmet, you're special. And you're very, very wrong.
And now you say you want a revolution. Well, we've got one. Clearly, Revolution is by far the smallest console we've ever manufactured. In its final form, it will be even smaller than this, about the size of 3 standard DVD cases stacked together. When you turn on Revolution and see the graphics, you will say, wow. Wi-Fi capability will be built into every Nintendo Revolution. The controllers will also be very unique in ways we will share with you later. But I will tell you, we are already working on several Wi-Fi titles, each starring one of our key franchise characters. 1 or 2 Wi-Fi games will be ready for launch. And I am pushing our team to make sure Smash Brothers is one of them. Of course, we all love what Mr. Miyamoto has created over the years. But for Revolution, he is challenging his team to create something brand new. Of course, it would be foolish to ignore the franchise we've already created, the best group of game stars in history. Next generation versions of Mario and Zelda are already underway. We are redefining the term backward compatibility. That's because we have designed Revolution to be a virtual console capable of downloading 20 years of Nintendo content. You will be able to purchase great games originally created for NES, Super NES, and Nintendo 64. The idea of a single device transporting us back to the first Excitebike, Earthbound, or Punch-Out should make us all feel young again. At least for a while.
Well, okay, so it's a black box. Jeff, Revolution or Revulsion?
Oh. Ouch. No, I think, Nintendo, they haven't told us a lot about it. That's the thing is they're keeping it secret, so it's like it's a black box. And it's like it's going to be innovative. And, for Revolution, we haven't really heard what's revolutionary about. I like the idea of backwards compatibility, the idea of all the classic games, wireless controllers.
Yes, right.
My question is, are you going to get a wireless light gun so I can play, Duck Hunt, which is one of my favorites.
You know what, why not? Like, I'm sure that you'll be able to do that. I was really excited, as everybody was. You heard the applause when they announced that you'd be able to download on the internet Nintendo games from back in the day.
Nintendo realizes there's an internet now, and I think that in and of itself is a revolution. Yeah,
they finally got the steps.
And it is Wi-Fi compatible right out of the box, which is nice.
But they talked about DVD, which I thought was interesting. Is like they talked about how it would play DVDs, but then you have to buy an attachment.
It's an attachment
if you want to play regular
DVDs.
They're
kind of a generation behind. They're still doing that. I think the thing is okay. So they're not going to show us any games. When do they plan to show it to us, and do they think we're actually paying attention? I mean, there are 2 big console launches looming in the future.
Right.
This was really, I think, the time they had to say, look at this, get excited about it, get talking about it. Nintendo always seems to be so hesitant, and they shoot themselves in the foot, and I think this is
are they hesitating, or do they really not have anything to show just yet? That's the question.
Well, they showed them, there's that Metroid Prime video that they showed, which kind of met
that was next gen?
Well, I don't know. It's sort of something suggesting.
No, I don't mean that to be.
But it's like it was a very lukewarm reaction at the conference.
But it was because it was vague. They didn't tell you what it was. They're just like, and here's Metroid, and everyone's like, yay.
And Nintendo has always been the most tight-lipped of the 3, the 3 big ones. So.
Right.
Well, 2 years ago, I believe it was 2 years ago, Iwata-san was very contrite, unusually contrite in front of the audience, acknowledging that there had been a problem with the launch of the GameCube, and they did not reach the number of people, and said right there they were not going to be behind this time round.
So what are
they are behind.
Yeah,
and it's just clear.
So what do they have then? That if they're trying not to be behind, they didn't really bring anything to the table.
And one thing they might do is they might, it sounds like they're kind of trying to really differentiate themselves from Sony and Microsoft. This box, it seems smaller. I can't imagine it's going to be as powerful as the PS3 or the Xbox 360. Maybe it'll be cheaper. They could come out with a box that's only $199 when they launch it.
It's a perfect, and they've always kind of focused on games that are a little bit more innovative, not necessarily as graphics heavy.
Nintendo also has a rabid fan base. Go to the IGN message board to find that out immediately. And they're going to pick it up on day one.
We hear from them all the time.
Two things I think are important. One, their main feature right now is something that a $20 mod chip for an Xbox can get you, and that's the entire back catalog. Sorry, it had to be said. Number 2, who should really trust Nintendo when they haven't really dipped their toe into the online pool yet? Now, I believe them when they say that they're going to have the infrastructure and that, GameSpy for the DS, and then you'll be able to download these games online. But have they proven any of that in the past? They're all of a sudden saying the internet's a big deal when just a few years ago it was all about the local experience. What happened?
Well, this goes back perfectly to why I think that behind closed doors they really do try to aim to be the perfect second console. Because with the other two, you're going to get that built-in Wi-Fi, and the internet experience. This is what people buy Nintendo for. It's the quality of those games. I'm almost wondering if they should give up on trying to go bigger and just hone in on what they do so well and using that incredible library to create good games every year.
Well, hey, and what about the controller? I mean, we haven't even seen that yet, Is it touchscreen or black box?
Yeah, touchscreen controller. I mean, the controller I'm not that worried about. How different is it really going to be? Do you think they're going to come out with this wildly different
That's why they're not showing it.
Yes,
That's why they're Nintendo. Nintendo always comes out with wildly different controllers. Be a believer.
Now, what about the third-party support, or lack thereof? Do we care anymore? Because is it really all about the franchise?
But when we come back, all the fun of the Nintendo press conference without the smell of desperation. Ooh. When E305 Live continues. Ooh!
Good question, though, Brad. We'll have to...
All right, welcome back to E305 Live. Now, all week long, we're bringing you live coverage of the Electronic Entertainment Expo at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. But right now, we can hear the Nintendo fanboys out there. They're on their knees. They're begging, please, may I have some more? Why, certainly. Last year at the Nintendo press conference, Reggie Fils-Aimé claimed that in 2005, Nintendo was going to be kicking ass and taking names. Now, if by kicking ass you mean trying to find the DS stylus that keep losing while everyone else is playing the PSP, then hey, mission accomplished. So what will Nintendo be doing in the ass-kicking department this year? Well, why don't we let Reggie and legendary creator Miyamoto-san explain it to you.
The launch of Nintendogs was responsible for making Nintendo DS the best-selling game system in Japan. In fact, selling more than 3 times the rate of the PSP. Yes, those cute puppy faces have the game blogs panting and slobbering. We thought maybe an outside perspective would help illustrate. So please welcome Tina Wood.
Now, the first thing you have to do in Nintendogs is go to the kennel and pick out your dog. So I picked out a pug. She's a girl. I named her Mia. Oh, there you are, girl. Oh, say hi. Say hi. Good girl. That's my girl. Now, these tricks are fine, but what's great about this is that you can actually name the tricks anything you want. So I thought I'd have a little bit of fun. All right, let's try this. Every dog has a nemesis. Let's try this one. Ganon. Ganon. You get him, Mia. You get him. Good girl. Very good. All right, well, after you train your dog, you got to have a little bit of fun with her as well, right? So let's have a little bit of fun with Mia. Hey, girl. Woo, come on. One of the most innovative aspects of Nintendogs is the bark mode. Now, this mode uses wireless technology to search for another dog that Mia can play with. So let's see how this works. Now I'm actually going to shut this, and hopefully we're going to hear bark. Maybe somebody out there brought Nintendogs with them. What we're going to do is Mia and that other dog are actually going to converse and get an opportunity to play with each other. That's the bark. Bill's dog Mario has come to play. Oh. And also says I've received a voice message from Bill, so Bill actually sent me a gift. Let's listen.
Tina, do you want to play?
It said, Tina, would you like to play? My one question is, who would have a puppy with a Mario hat on? Well, Miss Miyamoto, I think our dogs have become very good friends. And this has been, oh, look at the hands.
Oh, he's very good at.
I did not teach her that, by the way. I just want you to know, so.
Wow. Wow. I know they have like internet fetish sites for that stuff, but on the DS, I'm all for it. I got to be honest, Tal, I'm a believer. I'm going to buy a DS for Nintendogs. Is that, I mean, do you think this is the killer app? I really don't. And I'll blog about my dog. I'm going to blog about my dog.
I don't know about killer app. It's definitely something in that last clip that started with an A and has 3 letters in it. But then just what that other dog was doing to the one dog. But no, Nintendogs, if you played it, it's really cute. It's actually super fun. I don't know if it's a killer app, but it is. You know, Nintendo likes small, and they like collectibles, and they like Pokemon, and that kind of fits all 3 of their criteria.
And
you
the
know?
Tamagotchi thing that did kind of sweep the States. Like, it was much bigger in Japan. People were obsessing over them, but it did sweep the States, and it's cute enough.
And Microsoft talks about, trying to get 1 billion gamers, this and that. It's like, like Velocity Girl, all that stuff. Look at Nintendogs. That, to me, is something that's much more likely to attract a broader audience because it's a game that has mass appeal.
Right,
all this other stuff
but
about
can the 360 handle it?
Puppies.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at it.
Puppies.
Let's look at it too, especially in Japan. Maybe you don't have enough space to have a real dog. This actually acts very similarly to a real dog.
See, that's the thing, is that this is very indicative of what Nintendo does. They do stuff. Now, it's fine. It's very much developed for a Japanese audience, exactly for the reason that most people can't seem to have dogs. We've seen other games in Japan that do that. But Nintendo seems to have this, they're convinced that if it's good for Japan, it'll be equally as good in the U.S. This is why we have a purple box for a console called the GameCube. I think it's fine to release it, but they put as much stock behind it, and it's so misguided, and I think it's the wrong thing.
I think they're just saying, hey, we have this, maybe let's translate it into English and send it over to America. And
let us not forget the Tamagotchi craze was kind of big in America for a while. Like, I really think Nintendogs will cross over, and I wasn't kidding. Like, I'm looking forward to it. It's the first interesting use of a stylus and the microphone that I've seen on the DS.
I'm very happy with the idea of
localizing content. That's a great point, because I think, when I met with Reggie at GDC, he was telling me about, maybe they put some celebrity dogs in the game. They do some other things to sort of make it more local.
Yeah. Is it like Triumph's going to pop up?
And make it more sort of, more real for sort of the American audience, because that's the thing is, Electroplankton was another DS game, which was kind of interesting. It's this DJ game, but it's like, how is that going to do in the U.S.? I mean, is that a killer app?
Well, I think what we're seeing from Nintendo, and that we'll continue to see, is they're always usually the most innovative ones when it comes to software.
Right.
Look who Microsoft turned to when they wanted to get some real innovative software on their platform. They turned to third-party developers, or
they turned to Rare, and look what happened.
Yeah.
Come on.
But they're good at those sort of games that don't necessarily appeal to the hardcore gamer, like the Zookeeper, the puzzle game. I mean, they didn't do that one, but the Zookeeper, the puzzle game, they have those kind of games, WarioWare, that aren't necessarily going to appeal to that hardcore audience. And they're going to bring in a lot of other people.
But just like where we were saying that the Microsoft seems to be too broad in what's trying to say about the 360, look at these mixed signals from Nintendo. They're trying to say, oh, no, we aren't just for kids anymore. And look at almost everything that they showed us. The centerpiece of it was Nintendogs. I mean, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be that way, but they keep on sending these mixed signals, and they're not being consistent, and they're not backing it up.
Well, and Nintendo needs more software on all their systems. I mean, they need to. They are great first-party developers, and they need to get those titles out there. People are going to buy Nintendo-developed titles.
It's completely
Does
true.
anybody sitting up here believe that Nintendo is going to go after and/or capture the more mature market with anything coming out of the DS or the Revolution coming up? I'm just curious.
I think the Revolution is a shot, because we know nothing about it, so I'm willing to entertain that. But right now, no. I mean, look at Geist. I don't think that's going to do it.
I think a lot of the software coming up, it's besides Zelda. I mean, who's really what's being talked about? Zelda is obviously the big one.
Zelda appeals to all ages.
All right, do you crave more of the Reginator? Because I know I do. And when we come back, Nintendo keeps talking about a revolution. Oh, I meant a Regilution, as it's known on the IGN boards. Regilution.
Super. Congratulations, you're well into hour 2 of E305 Live, and you can't tear your eyes away from the screen thanks to secret subliminal technology we bought from the Soviets. Or maybe you just really want to know what the hell Nintendo was doing to stay in the console race.
Yeah.
So do we. And we think it has something to do with Zelda.
In Battalion Wars for GameCube, we've combined action, strategy, warfare, and third-person shooting in a novel way. You must save the world by clearing over 20 missions. But guiding the troops has never been easier. Mario can still dance the night away as he makes his premiere in Dance Dance Revolution for Mario Mix. This franchise gets a brand new look with the characters and the backgrounds you know so well from Mario's universe. And Pokemon returns to GameCube in a major way with the impending launch of Pokemon XD, Gale of Darkness. This game embarks on a whole new adventure, a full-fledged RPG. A dark and sinister plot sets a serious tone for this mega adventure. Well, of course, we have saved the best for last. Once again, Link is ready to storm into the game world. Now, over the years, he has changed his appearance, but he has never changed his nature. Today, prepare to see Link as you've never seen him before.
Okay, that was cool. Now, Jeff, admit it. You're ready to don your green tights and your elf hat, aren't you? You're already
That's
wearing
why I wear the green
yeah.
shirt, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I think this game looks great. You know, it's one of the few GameCube games that I'm really excited about. It's, you know, it's an exclusive title this year, which is going to help them. And the fact that Revolution is going to be backwards compatible, I think a lot of people might buy Revolution and then go back and play this game. So, looks great. I mean, I just can't wait to play it, and it sounds like it is coming this year, which is fantastic news. And it's nice to have a realistic Link.
Yes.
Mario is a whore. I'm sorry. I had to say it. How many more times can he jump the shark? DDR?
Yeah.
Hello? Anybody?
Mario baseball, they had it all.
He was popping, he was locking. What's your problem?
Here's the thing. I grew up on the Master System, which explains a lot of my problems. I don't have the Nintendo nostalgia that a lot of people do, but even I am getting sick and tired of seeing Mario shoehorned into every single franchise that Nintendo can.
You don't have to play it. You don't have to play the Mario games if you
Mario
don't want
was
to play
an
the
NBA Street.
It's more than Sega, too, Kevin. It goes well beyond Sega, all those problems you have.
Okay.
If I could just go back to Zelda for 1 second. I'm very excited about the Zelda game, but when, you know, him transforming into the wolf, it gave me that slight moment I had when I was playing Halo 2, and suddenly I stopped playing Master Chief. It was that, well, hold on, you know, I'm now, that's so much of what my expectations are built around is doing these things that I'm curious to see how it plays.
It could add like a whole other great level to the gameplay that we haven't really seen before.
So let's talk about the horseback riding. That's gonna, I just can't wait to do that.
That's
That
what
was
everybody's
awesome.
so excited about.
Apparently, you can't have a game like coming out this generation or next gen without a horse in it. Like it's the new light balloon. It's the new lens flare.
It's a new car.
You got
Well, I have to say, I mean, you know, I haven't even Wind Waker, as many people criticize that one. I've never been disappointed with the Zelda game, and they always seem to add new gameplay elements into the Zelda franchise every time they release a new one. And this one, you know, I'm really looking forward to having Lady Hawk the game and playing around with that. That's a compliment.
I think we're skirting the issue here. Seriously, DDR Mario.
Right.
Why not? People like DDR. People want to play DDR. People like Mario. If they want to buy it, that's fine. And you know people will buy it.
I just love the hate email,
but you know what? It does go back to what we were talking about earlier. I mean, it's these mixed messages. I mean, Zelda, okay, that's universal.
Looks awesome.
But everything else they showed, all it does is reinforce the perception that Nintendo is for a younger generation.
Is it really a mixed message, though? I mean, they've shown games forever and ever that are for kids. They come out with Resident Evil, and then everyone's
who's going to buy a GameCube now, you know, instead of buying a PS2 or an Xbox?
I certainly...
You're going to buy it in addition to.
Right,
you're not
as a compliment, absolutely, that's great. And now with the GameCube being so cheap, it makes a lot of
People
sense to buy that just to play Zelda, perhaps.
Comparing Sony and Microsoft to Nintendo's conference, I certainly don't think we saw the breadth and wealth of titles that we wanted to see out of Nintendo that we saw at Sony and Microsoft.
Well, also, I mean, it's funny, just watching that Zelda trailer, I liked it so much better now than I did at the press conference. I was so frustrated, let down, and bored at the end of that press conference that Zelda didn't even get my blood pumping.
The Zelda video last year
I really
was much
preferred it
better.
right here.
But Nintendo can't afford to lose as much money and like really just show as much as the other big companies could do, which is really unfortunate. So when we get to Nintendo's press conference, we're like, that's all you have? You don't have two top-of-the-line graphics cards in your system? You only have one?
The DS was
What
a big
is this?
surprise last year. I mean, the DS, I was like, my God, I think you...
And it got great buzz, but then it's like you look now, it's like, you know, it's got some good games, and then PSP came out, and it's like, you look at the show, how many third parties are doing PSP games now, and some of the biggest franchises out there for PSP.
But you almost wonder if Nintendo over-innovates itself and makes it so they are the only ones who can develop games for their system.
Right.
And third parties just kind of left out in the cold.
But let us not forget the pie chart, the one that Reggie was so proud of. I mean, an overwhelming portion of it was all Nintendo. So why should they worry? Why should they change their ways?
Very profitable, and you know, GBA still sells to, you know, mainstream audiences again
you
and
see
again.
kids everywhere. Kids are always going no with their GBAs. I'm the only, you know, woman, older person over 12 with
playing
one.
it in the Sony conference, by the way.
Playing at the Sony conference. Yeah, I was bored. It's starting late.
DDR Mario.
Yeah.
Excellent. What can you do?
Now the end is nigh. Well, the end of Nintendo's press conference, that is. Before they turn out the lights, though, we've got to look at a new Game Boy that'll make your hands look really, really big.
Oh, and you know what they say about that?
Oh.
What?
Getting tased by Microsoft security guards, which really hurts. I just want to go on the record. It hurts when you get tased. All right, we've reached the end of the end, the last chapter of Nintendo's E3 press conference. Did we say the best for last or just the tiniest? You decide. This is the GBA Mini, or I think we're going to see it in a second. It's the Micro. GBA Micro, you're correct.
Right.
It's
the
size of an iPod Mini, though.
It's absolutely tiny.
And it has a tiny little screen, and they swear that it's the best, biggest, brightest screen yet, but I'm going to need to get glasses. Although
it's actually large, but Reggie is 9 feet tall.
Yeah.
That's
it's made for little hands and little fingers and little eyes.
How much smaller do I need my video games?
Well, the thing is, it's such a small screen. To me, the issue with it is it's almost like a cell phone. It's like when you get a screen that small, it's smaller than the GBA SP screen. It's like, I mean, you almost want to start playing those games on a cell phone when it's that small. Do you want to have a device just for that?
If, the old Mario Brothers games, if they're that small, maybe they'll actually look good in like high resolution and stuff like that. And
I think you lose perspective. How can you make a good jump when it's that small? I think your ability to judge distance, I want to look at it first.
But where else? What is Nintendo doing here? I mean, I bought a GBA. I bought a GBA SP. Do I really need another smaller device?
Or do they want you to buy the DS? Because that's the thing is I don't understand. It's like, are they telling you it's like buy a DS?
But the person who's going to buy a DS is not the same person who's going to buy the Micro or whatever it's called. They're totally different audiences. They're going to get it for kids. They're going to get it for like image-conscious teenagers.
Right.
They're not aiming at it for these 20-something people who can't see it anymore.
What they're doing here, I think they're backing up the message that they sent earlier. They're not sending a mixed signal. They said, look, we're going to support the DS. It's a separate platform from the SP, and I think this further proves it. It's like, look, we're still making titles for the regular Game Boy Advance. Here's a whole unit that can play those titles. There you go.
If they sell it at a hot topic, like they do all those T-shirts, it just occurred to me, maybe that's what they're aiming at. And if they do that because of this, I want a cut of it.
It could be on a little keychain or something. You could hang it from your belt. It could be a style thing. Maybe that's what they're going for.
But it is kind of chic. Going back to what Tal said, I mean, this is so reminiscent of back when it went from the Nintendo Entertainment System to the Super Nintendo. They held it back by a couple of years. There was an uproar when they first announced that they were going to move on to another system, because people felt like, that's it. Nintendo's been hoodwinking us. They got us to buy all the software library, and now the software library has been made absolutely redundant because there's all this new stuff that's going to be coming out.
Yeah,
it is strange they reiterate the same system.
Those Game Boy games, they sell well. Those Pokemon games, I mean, every time you see the list of top sales, it's like Pokemon, red, green, blue, orange,
the
purple.
PSP, though? That's the thing is, it's like, they have this, they have DS. I still haven't seen a response to really PSP, and I think Nintendo says they're not worried about it. And, right now, the DS has sold more units worldwide than PSP.
But the PSP is not doing too shoddily. I mean,
exactly. Well, obviously, GBA is still the king of handhelds out there. But I would like to see, Nintendo actually show us kind of progress in that market as well. PSP is going to be some stiff competition. It's a sexy little machine.
The PSP is expensive. That's going for like a much higher end market than like going to buy your kid a little tiny micro thing.
Right. True. Well, let's take a step back now and look at Nintendo's conference. Compare it to the Microsoft and compare it to the Sony. I don't know that it's even fair to compare because there was such less, the amount of information given out was so little in comparison. I'm excited for the GBA Micro, though. I am.
It's cool. I think Nintendo's always great at their stagecraft, and their conferences are always sort of pretty tight, pretty interesting. And they had at the beginning they had this remix of like Reggie's famous.
That was hysterical. They were making fun of yourself.
You didn't buy it, Prayer?
I was getting down. Don't get me wrong. I can throw down, but
I still think Miyamoto should have flown into the stage though.
On string. You just didn't get much sense of like.
Him like a T2.
Or just fly. I mean, I think he can. I think he really can fly. It's all real time.
At the Microsoft press conference, you kind of had this basic feeling that they were pulling the wool over your eyes the whole time. That they had nothing to show. But they were going to move real crazy and smooth, and maybe you wouldn't really notice. Yep. Whereas at the Nintendo press conference, you had a feeling of, here's what we have.
It was sincere.
It was very sincere.
Well, the fanboys, I thought, though, that normally, I've been in Nintendo conferences since the first E3, and they're always really, really sort of euphoric. This one, I thought they were actually a little more muted.
There were even a couple of boos. I can't remember exactly what part, but I heard the fanboys boo.
It was there were no surprises. I've never been to a Nintendo press conference, so there wasn't something that had me talking when I was walking out.
Tino last year on the show. Come on.
Well, of course. I talk to Tino all the time.
Well, wait, now, they announced a new handheld, but no one seems. Do you guys care? I care. I'm interested in it.
It wasn't a new handheld. It was the same handheld.
It's a
redesign.
It's a
redesign.
It's just treat. You know what it's going to take.
I'm just saying. He was a big deal. He pulled it out. There was a big reveal, and he kind of said, "Here it is."
Reggie gave you that sense of big deal. Well, anyway, later another look at the gorgeous Killzone with the PS3. Are your expectations good and raised now? Well, get ready to lower them, because when E305 Live returns, we'll also be talking about what we really think about the big three.
Have we already been doing
it? All right, if you've been watching the big three press conferences with us, then you might be thinking, Kevin, sure, these new consoles look good, but what do the experts think? Well, we don't have any experts, but we do have Adam Sessler. Come on now, and he's been covering E3 since the Napoleonic Wars, back when the biggest game was called Hide the Musket.
War of the Roses, buddy.
Oh, sorry. What's your take on the next-gen consoles, Adam? Let's hear it.
You know what? I'm really excited for the PS3. They haven't sort of stumbled yet. They've been holding, probably something that's going to probably take some of the luster off, but wow, after that press conference, I was excited. I really want Microsoft to clarify what's really happening. I want them to show some more cleaned up gameplay. Maybe we'll see it in a couple of months. and I would just like to know what the revolution is going to be.
All right, Morgan, your thoughts?
Well, I was really impressed by the PS3, the Ducky demo. There was a part where they had the eye toy, and they had these 2 cups, the colored cups, and they were pouring water from one cup into the other. The thing that was so impressive is that the eye toy just picked up those cups so seamlessly, whereas the eye toy, you have to adjust it, and you have to move around, and you have to jump up and down to get it to work, and it was just such a good seamless integration, and the water was beautiful, and it was nice to see what it could actually do, as opposed to theoretically maybe one day we're arguing about pre-rendered or not pre-rendered. Right. It was nice to see that.
Right. Now, was that a next-gen eye toy, or was that the traditional?
No,
eye
I think
I noticed it was
really
painted silver.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I think they were saying it was somewhat advanced. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
maybe they just painted it.
Exactly. We don't know.
All right. One thing that I want to point out real quick, that.
Oh,
yeah.
you guys see that?
Yeah,
it's not from Pink Floyd, The Wall, either.
No. It was from, and I'm gonna say it. It was from the planted audience behind Jay Allen and all the other boys from
Not
Microsoft.
technically planted. Microsoft says they're members of our colony.
Enthusiastic and segregated from the rest of the press conference attendees.
And with too many girls in there to be believable.
Exactly. Now, I heard a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not, that these are our colony folks. That
that's what Microsoft claims. That they are our
here's the
colony
deal.
members.
I have to believe that our colony players are more educated when it comes to gaming than to clap when Laura Croft comes on the screen. Because that got the biggest draw.
That was the tip-off. It's like Tomb Raider, and everyone's like,
yeah. And
come on, people.
I've heard of that one.
Exactly. One that everybody recognized. It felt staged.
Yes.
But one thing for me that I really liked was Insomniac Games, Ted Price.
Yes.
These are guys who do Ratchet and Clank. Great games. We talked a lot on the show about sort of, making games that are for mature audiences. One of the problems Nintendo has is it can't make content that's appealing now. Insomniac, they came up with this game. It's called I-8. Looks like sort of a cross between Call of Duty and Half-Life, a PlayStation 3 game. This blew me away, and this is the last thing you'd expect from Insomniac. They actually did a shooter for the original PlayStation called Disruptor. Yes. But this just looks amazing, and this is just
so many people on the screen right now.
And their inventiveness and their amazing command of gameplay, I can't wait to see what's in this game.
You were giddy like a little Japanese schoolgirl. Whenever that little monster came on the screen, you're squirming.
And it was a great tease because they didn't even tell you it was from Insomniac until the end. So you were like, who's this from? This looks great. So it's nice to see that.
For me, Fight Night was what it was all about.
They played
PS3,
that one punch over and over.
It's like the Matrix punch.
If it is real time, which it looked like it was, but if it is real time, it looks better than real boxing to me.
And if you know boxing, those are the expressions. When they show the guy get slammed into the rope, that dead expression.
And that's what was so disappointing really about Microsoft is we had just seen these beautiful facial expressions, and then we get over to Microsoft, and the faces are just those deadpan plastic faces again, and then that's when it was just so crushed. It was so crushed by that.
Yeah. But let's not forget about current gen, because I think that's the thing is there are a lot of great PS2, Xbox, PSP, DS games on display at the show here, and they're going to do really well this holiday season. So we've talked a lot about next gen.
I think they're going to get a little ignored, though, is the thing.
I know, but there's going to be a lot of great stuff.
I don't know if I want to play them anymore. I have my new friends now.
All right.
They're not here yet.
They haven't called to say they really want to hang out yet.
We've got a lot of great guests, great current gen games.
So what do we think is the next big innovation coming out of next gen? I think from what I saw at Sony, I think it's their use of emotion. I think they got it. They took the cue from Valve and Half-Life. Yeah. It's all in the eyes. It's all in the facial expressions. I saw that. I don't know, Tal, is it HDR?
Well, especially on the technology side, wireless.
Yeah,
everything is wireless. Different input devices. The PS3 has it must be a total of 2 billion ports on it to do things as well. Even though it is wireless, you can still plug everything into it.
2 HD monitors.
Yeah,
at
amazing.
one time on one console. Not that I have 2 HD monitors, but whatever.
Lots of goodness. Lots of goodness. All right, if you thought we were done, then sit back down on that soiled futon, brother. We've got another look at our week-long live coverage of E3 2005 and one last lusty look at Killzone 2 when we come back.
Or 3.
All right, before we wrap things up, we give you one last chance to gaze at the sexiest game we've seen so far. It's for the PS3, and oh my lord, it's hot. Here's one more look at the new Killzone.
Okay, listen up. Aim straight.
right, that's still holding up for me, but Tal, I think you're absolutely right.
If Sony does not deliver this next spring, I'm going to be disappointed. I better see, if they're promising this, I better see this next spring.
I think we paint ourselves into a corner. Like, this thing better be for real. Or
that's sometimes what sells system. I remember like the Metal Gear Solid 2 demo for PlayStation 2. Everyone saw it and they were just like, oh my god, is that even possible? You know, could it be pre-rendered? What is it? And then Kojima delivered something very close to it, and it captured people's imaginations, and that's why they decided to buy PS2. Not necessarily because of the launch titles, because of what was coming down the line. So it might not come out next spring. Maybe it's next fall.
That's true.
But it looks pretty exciting.
But if it can do that,
it needs to be next.
Well, if it comes out looking like that 6 years from now, will you still be happy? Will you still be satisfied?
6 years? Well, I guess it all depends on what we're seeing out of Xbox 720 and.
I'm watching they seem to have a shorter console cycle than the rest of
the More PC. We haven't talked much about
the PC side of things.
Something that can get close to that at launch and we'll be all good. All right, that's it. Tomorrow, all week long, we're going to have live coverage of E3 at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. New games, next-gen consoles, celebrities, exclusive game demos, and women dressed as Blood Rain.
Hooray! Hooray, love that. Plus, up-to-the-minute online coverage in all 3 major press conferences, unedited. They're full length at IGN.com.
All right, so buckle your seatbelts because this is going to be an explosive ride. And by explosive, we mean they'll be using that defective power cord from the Xbox to power the 360. Oh. Goodbye. We'll see you tomorrow.
Danger in gaming, kids.
You got to plug it in.